Hi, I'm Melissa Newell. I'm a clinical assistant professor in speech, language, and hearing sciences at Purdue University. Part of the problem with hearing loss is it's not something you can feel, and so it really is something that people often don't detect as happening, and it just happens to all of us as we get older. Worse if you've been around noise exposure or you have certain health problems, but often it's other people who notice it first. So your family members may be saying that they're having to repeat themselves too much or that the TV's too loud, things like that. Most often our patients will say, I feel like I hear fine, I just can't understand what people are saying. And that's what happens with hearing loss. You just start losing those parts of speech that make it clear, but often you hear parts of speech, you just don't hear all of it normally. The thought is that when people have hearing loss, they have to work much harder to function. So there's a lot of listening fatigue by the end of the day. So we think that wearing hearing aids will help then relieve some of that stress so that you have more cognitive power to focus on other things. For instance, if people are walking and they're focusing on walking, if it becomes difficult to walk, they'll stop talking. But if you're talking and that's the focus, you'll stop walking. So it's hard for us to do both, and when there's hearing loss, it gets even more difficult. There's a lot of information about hearing out there, but we're continuing to learn a lot about the vestibular system in the last few years. And we're learning more about how hearing provides spatial information about your environment. And so there is some thought that when there's hearing loss, not only are you not able to hear what people are saying to you, but you lose some of your sense of your spatial awareness. And that's partly why we think that patients might be falling too. So it's not just losing the reflexes, it's not just damage in the ears, it's multifactorial. We get information from all over the place. So we'd like you to protect your hearing to avoid hearing loss, but there's potentially a risk for damaging the vestibular system. And when that happens, we have damaged reflexes then. So you're no longer able to move your head and have clear vision, but it also affects the reflexes in your lower part of the body. And so potentially there could be not only higher risk for falling if you don't protect your hearing, but also getting hurt more when you fall because you don't have protective reflexes there to catch yourself. So the vestibular system allows us to feel motion anytime we move our heads. So there's fluid in the inner ear that moves, and anytime you move your head in any direction, there's a reflex that goes to the eyes that tells the eyes to move in the completely opposite direction. The purpose of that is that when we're moving our heads around, our eyes move with us so that our vision stays clear no matter how fast we're moving our heads. So for patients who do not have good vestibular function, they often can't move their head without having blurred vision or a sense of dizziness. So protecting your hearing, avoiding loud sounds, or wearing hearing protection when you're loud sounds can help keep the ear healthy. But we also want to look at lots of different disease processes. Things like diabetes are really hard on your ears, your vision, and the feeling you get in your legs and feet. And so all three of those things together really can impact balance and make it harder for people to maintain their balance and then put them at higher risk for falling. It's about living a quality life as you get older, and we're doing a pretty good job of learning how to keep people alive longer, but we need to do a lot of work at keeping people in a good state when they're older. We want them to be healthy and still enjoying their lives.